So we'll see if this is a quick project or not. My neighbor's niece got her a new walker that has the seat where you can sit down on and such. And because my neighbor is shorter, the lowest setting is still that much too high. So we still have to drop this about 1.5 inches or so. Basically the thickness of a handle, more or less, which there's space down here to go, but there's no hole. And if that goes down, this has to move up and all sorts of things. So there's all sorts of possibilities, but what we're going to try is because this can't go down lower because this hits here. But if we move, so instead of this seat rest being here, we move it up so this is here, it may be able to go down more and then just drill a hole and it may be okay. We can't cut this shorter because there's a cross brace that attaches bottom and up here. And if we cut this silver part shorter and drop it down, all this cross brace stuff would have to need adjusted, and that's way more playing around. And so after a little bit of brainstorming, I think the easiest thing is going to be, before we do anything and before we mess anything up, take the back brace off and see if we move that up and hold this next to it, if that'll drop it down 1.5 inches or so. And if yes, if there's enough space inside before it hits this bolt that does go the whole way through, see if this inner part would go down lower. And if that's the case, then maybe drilling another hole would work, and then that would solve it. That's what we're going to try. So first I have to see if this top back brace will move. So I took the bolts out and it does slide up. So then I did some quick measurements and make sure that it's going to work like I think, and I think it'll work. Okay, taking the bolts out, it does slide up over. Because this handle is a different shape, the bolt holes don't line up, so that may be... I may just have to make extra holes. I'm definitely going to have to make one extra hole because the other hole is down here, and the other one doesn't really line up, again, because it's wider. But it does drop far enough. It drops below where it would need to go by the time it hits this bolt, but that also may mean that the little thing is down too far. I'm not sure. I have to measure where that is as well. But it goes from 32.5 for the top of the handle. By taking those out, it will go down to 31 or just under 31, because her other walker that she uses is down. The top of the handles are about 30 7/8, so we can get it down to there. I have to figure out where that handle is. So let me see about that. All right, so having it outside, the little ball is above the plastic at least, and that's down where it needs to go. So, well, is it? I'll have to see. It may actually be interfering with the plastic, in which case I may have to make a hole in the plastic. I want to do the least destructive thing and try and get the hole in one spot. I don't have a TIG welder to fill in a hole. I don't have the paint to fix the paint, so I'd rather just do one hole and be all set if possible. At least this top part does move up, so, because that's the backrest when you're using the seat. The backrest does move up enough for this to drop lower, and I don't hit that bolt. So that's the first hurdle solved. So now I just have to see where would that little button end up and where would the hole have to be. So I have to figure that out next. So first I want to figure out where the hole's supposed to go. So I made a paper template and then checked it and then shifted it down and then put blue tape so I didn't write on the leg, and then aligned that up back and forth and then drilled it with a center drill and then a bigger drill and then cleaned it up and tested it, and that seemed to work. So I did the second leg the same, lined it up, drilled it, all those fun bits, cleaned it up, and then put it back together, and it pretty much went back together. I did at one point put one of the bolts on the wrong side, so I switched it around, but otherwise it worked fine. So then I put some zip ties on, and that worked too. That went easier than expected. Not that it should have been hard, but it went pretty simple. So as you saw, I just had to take this out, measure down, line it up, drill it out. I ended up using a center drill to drill it out because that would do more of the cone and also stick with the center versus the other bits. And then finished it up with a 21/64 bit to get it to about the right size. And that's pretty close. And then I just used by hand one of these to just smooth it out so that there's no sharp bits. And that worked. Now the one thing that I moved it up, but then I realized this will actually fit down over this other part. You just have to work at it. And she's not going to raise this because she needs it lower. So this should be fine. So I did not have to move this up and leave it up. I'll just tell her if you pull it out, you'll have to fight with it to get it back down over. That should do it. That solves the problem. So let's double check the height because I hope that's right. All right. hopefully that is right around, yeah, it's 31 and an 8. It's a 1/4 inch higher than was originally wanted. I think a 1/4 inch is fine. The 1.5 inches was too high, but I think a 1/4 inch is fine. And this is, if we went down another 1/4 inch, we'd be into the plastic. So it's better to have it up a 1/4 inch, I think. And then I just put, because that's down lower, I just put a loose zip tie to try and keep the cord for the brakes somewhat contained. You don't want it tight because then it'll bind, but I think that'll work. So I think that's what she wanted. That should be done.